leaves the house and comes to visit one of her siblings, and JP apparently does not like that. It's stated that during one of those occasions of Micah being at a sibling's to get away from the alleged abuse, JP finds out and texts, not Micah, but her sibling. I'm on the way to your house. Be there at 12:55. We will not let you inside. We aren't doing none of that tonight. That's fine, you can call the cops. I'm armed and ready.
Oh.
Armed?
He is armed.
JP said, I'm armed and ready. They respond, armed? Question mark, question mark. Micah can fix all of this. This doesn't help anything. Threats and intimidation only make matters worse. I don't care. If you come here, the cops will be here waiting. If you stay home, they don't need to get involved. You can't make a threat about being armed and ready and come to my home in the middle of the night. It's not safe for anyone involved. Fine by me. Haha, I don't care. That night, in November 2023, so a few months before Micah passes, Micah's sister places a 911 call. 911, what's your emergency? I need to report a non-emergency at this point. Okay, what's going on? My sister came here today to visit because her and her husband were having issues. She came from Myrtle Beach. She told him that she's going to be home on Tuesday, and he is texting me at this point saying, I'll be at your house at 12:55. I'm armed and ready, and I will keep you up all night. I'm going to get her back. I said, you're not welcome at my home. There are no trespassing signs. You cannot threaten weapons. He has 6 guns that he just purchased recently, and he's saying I'm armed and ready, and I'm coming to get her. There are a lot of allegations of abuse against JP. Now, I do want to reiterate that none of these have been tried in the court of law. Therefore, they are just allegations. This is not a statement of fact, and the full list can be found on justiceformicah.com, run by Micah's family. But the list of allegations include isolating her from her family and friends. Allegedly, JP would tell Micah that her family was not good for her and they were using her. The family alleges JP would not let Micah sleep, which we have, if this is true, we've heard of. This seems very common in abusive relationships. He would keep her up at night, allegedly, and pull the covers off of her every time she started dozing off. They allege that she started having to sleep in her car at times just to get some peace and quiet. It's alleged that JP hired PIs to follow and track Micah and placed multiple GPS tracking devices on her car. They allege that JP would hack into her email, iCloud, Facebook account, and would sometimes message people pretending to be Micah and would text family members or church members admitting to bad things, like she's having intimate relations with teenagers in an attempt to disgrace her name. The allegations continue. JP would tell Micah that she was lazy and mentally ill, that her breasts were too small, that her family was ignorant and used her, that she would not be a good Christian woman if she questioned him or did not submit to him or did not keep all of his dark secrets. It's alleged that JP forced her to submit to humiliating sexual acts that disgusted and hurt her. He would allegedly berate her for not being smart and, quote, falling for anything. There are allegations that if Micah told JP she was going to expose his abuse, he would berate her for not being a good Christian because only God can judge. He also allegedly told her, which is not true, because judges are judges, but he also allegedly told her that a dutiful wife must obey her husband. If she does not, she is sinning. It's stated on the website that JP paid her less than minimum wage for more than her full-time employment at the church, removed her from all their bank accounts, but still made her make her own car payments, her own insurance payments, and pay for medical bills. He would also allegedly randomly fire her for disobeying him and would only allow her to have her job back if she agreed to some sexual acts or other list of demands. It said if Micah ever hinted at exposing his abuse, he would also threaten self-exit and even threatened her whole family with gun violence. There are allegations that JP would punch holes into the walls of their home. He kept guns and knives in the home, keeping Micah in a constant state of fear. One big allegation reads, while she was hospitalized, JP demanded that she have sex with him while she lay in the hospital bed. JP forced her to perform sexual acts against her will and demanded she watch him in sexual acts with others and forced her to sit still so others could touch her body against her will. JP told her and, quote, preached on Sunday that if she did not submit to his every request for sex in any manner he desired, then it was her fault if he got his needs fulfilled by another woman or man. The allegation list continues. JP slashed 5 of her car tires. JP would take her purse and keys to prevent her from leaving the house. One allegation reads, JP cheated on her many times. He sent nude pictures of himself to another woman. He paid a woman from church $10,000 to destroy a sexually explicit video of himself. He flirted with other women. He sexted and dated other women. He paid for sex from both women and men.
When you realize bloating and discomfort don't have to be routine, everything changes. Try Rise Mushroom Coffee with 6 functional mushrooms that heal your gut, improve digestion, and boost immunity. A better routine starts here.
These are all the allegations. And the last allegation reads, physical abuse without marks. JP finger punched her in the throat. He held her up against the wall by her throat and slapped drinks out of her hands. And in public, he snatched a plate of food from her and threw it.
So these are all allegations that the family posted.
Yes.
And they
probably gathered this from different sources.
Yes, so allegedly Micah had journals that she would keep that the family are allegedly in possession of, and I'm sure Micah would tell them. I don't know how deep she would tell them because I'm sure she didn't want them to worry too much, and that's typical of victims of abuse is you don't want to worry your family members. But I mean, it's coming from the family. I say allegations because again, they haven't been tried in the court of law, but it's not like me trying to question a victim's story or anything. Now, the most terrifying one, leading up to her death, it stated that Micah would tell her sister, quote, "If I end up with a bullet in my head, it's not by me, it was JP." And that would be the exact manner that she is found dead. Allison, JP's ex-wife, would even state, "On one occasion, while picking up our daughter, I observed holes in their walls, hinges off the doors, and pieces of paper taped to the wall with negative affirmations about Micah." I'm imagining post-its of just mean, degrading things about Micah randomly stuck around the house. He would also take the podium during a Sunday service and almost allude to all the problems Micah has under what feels like a thinly veiled disguise as being a sermon. JP had a thing for mentioning his wife's mental health struggles to people around him, whether it's true or not. He would openly talk about what he thought of her mental health. Then one day, he gets up there and he says, "You know the thing about pride and mental illness?"
I think mental illness is probably the most horrible thing we can face in our bodies, and pride is probably the most horrible thing we can face in our spirits, and here's why.
When you're mentally ill, it's the one sickness you have that you don't know you're sick. And you have to trust people around you because you're saying, "No, they're lying to me. They're telling me I need medicine. I don't need medicine." Because the thing sick is your mind. And your mind is what you need to realize that you're sick, but you don't know you're sick because your mind tells you you're not sick. And your mind is the thing that's sick. Again, I don't know. I haven't looked into statistics, and I highly doubt that there would be valid statistics that I could quote. But I know a lot of people who struggle with their mental health, and I don't think any one of us refuses to take medication. I think most people who struggle with mental health want help. JP would also give these sermons based on the stories of his friends that he had this fellow pastor. He would talk about how his pastor was going through a divorce, that his wife just left one day. She was having an affair with one of his staff members. So in a day, the pastor lost his wife and his good friend, the staff member, all at once. Which it sounds like he's alluding to the idea that Micah is doing the same thing to him, when this is actually the exact thing that he did to his previous wife, Allison. Which, is this play about him right now? Because not only did he do this to Allison, but he's likely doing the same thing to Micah too. It's alleged that he was cheating on her with multiple different women. But one of his affairs, like I said, the one with Susie Skinner, seems like a pretty well-known accepted fact. And then Micah gets admitted into a mental health facility. She states that her husband had involuntarily committed her. It's further alleged that during this time while she was admitted to the hospital, he took her wallet and keys and her car and went through all of her personal belongings to get rid of any and all things that allegedly would be incriminating towards him that she might have been using and collecting to bring to the court.
It says, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for great news. All people are afraid. No one knows what they're doing. Everything is getting worse. Your money is worthless. No one is properly dressed. The system is rigged. Your house will never be completely clean. All teachers are incompetent. There are people who really dislike you. Nothing is as good as it seems. Things don't last. No one is paying attention. The country is dying." Here are our favorite Google searches that got people to Cards Against Humanity. Yes, these are real searches performed by real humans. Oh gosh. Card games for white people. Does Shaquille O'Neal have a micro penis? Oh my god, stop. No, he doesn't. I'm pretty sure. Girls eating girls' poo-poos and poop and boobs. That's playable. Gymnastics butt spray. The fuck is that? How to shave a profoundly handicapped young man. What? Penis party and taco parts. Okay, I'm done with this. And now a list of Cards Against Humanity cards written by a computer. The horse with no obvious purpose. Swishing that penis all over. I don't know. We also wrote some themed packs about awesome stuff we like. This is cool. 90s Nostalgia Pack, 2000s Nostalgia Pack, the College Pack, the Weed Pack, the Period Pack, the Science Pack, the World Wide Web pack, Saves America pack, Fantasy pack, Pride pack, Geek pack, Food pack, Food pack, Wi-Fi, Sci-Fi pack, Theater pack, Dad pack, Ass pack.
After being released from the hospital, Micah tries to file a police report that her husband stole her car, but a few things. JP alleges to the police that his wife has mental health issues, and usually during the holidays, she has these episodes where she will become manic, is what he says, and spend excessive amounts of money recklessly. He alleges that he took the car because he felt like she was going to sell it to fund these shopping trips, and he didn't want that to happen. Now, side note, he does make some crazy allegations. He states that Micah bought a gun, and he was scared that Micah was going to shoot him. He had been begging all of her family and friends to help her, but according to JP, they refused. So he had no choice but to use his power of attorney to hospitalize her, is basically what he alleges. The police couldn't really do anything in this situation either. They told Micah that technically because they're married and haven't divorced yet, the car would be considered marital property, so he can't really steal property that he partly owns. Now, side note, a lot of Micah's family and friends will argue JP's claims, and they state that Micah did cut back on her meds. She was on medication, but because it was allowed in her medical regimen, that she could reduce her 2 pills of lithium to 1. And the family demanded to see when Micah signed over power of attorney to JP. They allegedly kept pressing JP to show them the papers that she signed, but when he allegedly brought them to Micah's dad, they weren't signed or notarized. Which, if that's the case, that would mean that's not official documentation. But the family believes that JP would use these documents and somehow convince Micah that they were very real, and this is how he has power over her, complete and utter control over her. Later, JP would go up to do another sermon. This is around the time that she's in the mental hospital.
And when was that? Like years ago?
No.
2023?
Yes. 2023 or 2024.
When my wife went in the hospital, I looked at her phone and I counted over the past 2 years, 18 people who had texted her and said, if you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and say anything and I'll keep it confidential.
Why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse? And
18 people text her?
yes, which I don't know why he is probably saying this, because that means 18 people feel like your husband is alarming and I want to help you.
This guy is so good at spinning everything around into his favor.
Yeah, allegedly. Well, it's an opinion.
Yeah, like he does. Like everything you hear is like,
yes,
he's just preaching about whatever you want to preach about.
Yeah, he literally frames it like this. You're not even ready. Why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse?
He doesn't think he's,
no,
there's no problem with him. Everything is like, no, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem.
And he has a southern accent and he does have that pastor cadence. This very authoritative. And then where you maybe even listening, you're like, okay. And then afterwards, you're like, what did he just say? Like, that doesn't even make sense. He says,
why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse? And 2 of those 18 were men. If someone wants to call you and say bad things about somebody else, that's a demon talking to you. And the only way to respond is with the word of God. You see, demons love words that line up with what they want. They cannot stand the word of God.
And he keeps bringing God too, all the time, in his favor.
It's not a demon talking to you. It's 18 concerned people that see red flags in JP and are worried for Micah. He also states, last year, my wife, they went to Africa and had a wonderful trip, amazing trip. I believe it was like a mission. And she came back with the idea to start a school in Africa.
And 6 weeks ago, she goes in the hospital, gets out, and just leaves. Just completely leaves me, leaves everything, drains the bank account, and goes. Guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed. I'm just doing that. I'm doing the work. Now listen, I'm hurting more than I've ever hurt, going through so much pain you can't imagine.
The congregation starts clapping. Listen, I'm hurting more than I've ever hurt before, though. So much pain you can't even imagine. Last week, I have somebody that's going to donate a plane to our church for me to be able to fly from Florida to Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia, for me to go and preach at other churches. Because listen, God gave me the idea that I don't care about other churches. I care about other pastors. And for some reason, I can develop a sermon on tithing, again, giving money to the church, on gossip, on strife, on supporting your pastor, and I can say things to the church that will bless the pastor. So now I'm getting invitations to speak at other churches all over the states around here, and we get a free plane I can go around in. So while you're talking about me on Facebook, look up in the sky and you'll see a solid rock logo on a plane. That's me going to Miami.
So he's talking this to the whole church?
Yeah.
About Micah?
Yeah. And the whole congregation bursts into cheers.
Yeah, so imagine like what kind of power imbalance this is, and how would she feel to know that this is what he's publicly talking about her?
Yeah. This is, again, I do want to mention, this is not representative of Christianity. I myself have a bit of religious trauma, but this is like so unhinged. If you hear about a pastor talking about a private plane ever, I think it's time to switch churches. It's just, even if it was donated or whatever, it's very alarming. Micah posts a video on Facebook, and if you just see these videos of him up on that stage preaching, And then you see the videos of Micah, it's so different. The way they carry themselves, the words that they use, the type of message that they're trying to spread. Micah posted a video on Facebook.
So today my heart's a little heavy. I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me, because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are the bride of Christ. Before anybody else's bride, male or female, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are.
P.F. Chang's invites you to celebrate the holidays with fried chicken and bubbles.
Abuse is abuse. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs, or alcohol abuse, or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce. But why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
It seems like the way he uses, in my opinion, the way he uses the Bible is very for himself to confirm his actions and beliefs and choices. And the way Micah uses it, I'm not religious, but she is trying to find wisdom and trying to find strength in the Bible, which is how it should be used. Yeah. And she's trying to uplift people with her faith. It's very different.
Oh, yeah.
April 9th, Micah posted a picture of herself on Facebook, and the caption reads, "When terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, y'all know what I'm talking about. RPF, resting peace face. Hashtag still bless, hashtag God is good." And that would be the last picture she ever posts. Micah files for divorce October 2023. The divorce is dismissed February 2024. Micah is filing again, but this time for legal separation. So it's very different from a divorce, but just like we're still legally married, we live separately. But it does seem like, or at least it appears from the outside, that Micah just wants to be free. She wants to move on with her life. She even reaches out to Allison, JP's ex-wife, and leaves her a 47-second voicemail where she says,
"Hey, it's Micah. This is my university certificate, but I just wanted to see you, your counselor was, to help you walk through forgiveness and stuff, and keep your heart right through all of this, because I don't want to lose myself in this, and I don't want to pursue anything out of anger, vengeance, or anything like that. I just want to be free and keep my soul right. So,
what happens when you get trapped
if
in
you can text me a thing, even as a counselor, I greatly appreciate it. Thanks. Bye."
Micah's separation papers were served to JP April 25th, 2024. April 27th, 2024, she would be found dead in the water. Micah's family have alleged that when they found out about Micah's death, it was from a text message from JP. The text allegedly reads, "This is what happens when you try to encourage someone to divorce the person they love and tell them that they don't need medicine and that they're not ill when they are. Good job, Francis family." The family alleged that he starts texting about 100 people that night that she passed, and people start blowing up Micah's family's phones, and that's how they knew. Side note, even the way he announces to the congregation that Micah has passed is very bizarre and has gone viral. He doesn't seem to give time to Micah's family to let people know. I mean, just the day after Micah is found, he goes up there and allegedly gives a full sermon, and at the end he says,
"We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up, and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can. So y'all can stand to your feet." Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next little bit. I don't want to have. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks. I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina. And we're gonna have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can. I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. And y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally, and that she needed medicine that was hard to get to her.
It was such an emotionless, bizarre announcement. Sunday, May 12th, 2024, JP holds a memorial for Micah at the Solid Rock Church. Her family does not attend. He says during the memorial service, while showing a slideshow of Micah, it's just weird. That doesn't feel like he's complimenting his wife, but almost not. He would say things like, she'd get a tourist to take our picture, and I say, okay, thank you. And she said, oh no, this isn't good. Give it back to them. And they do it again, you know? But she's so creative. Everything she did was creative. What's the next picture? Next picture? She'd stop. We'd be on the way to like a show or something, and she'd stop. I gotta get a picture. I said, we're gonna be late. And she said, I don't care. Just paraphrasing, but again, just kind of weird, right? He would also talk about how she loved tattoos, but he didn't. She wanted to skydive and do all these dangerous things, but he had to think about his kids. He also compliments her in ways that I just don't feel like are nice during a time to